Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. Alex and Emily met on a warm spring afternoon. They met at a mutual friends party. Alex, a young and talented investment manager who has already made a name for himself in the financial industry, and Emily, an art connoisseur whose soft demeanor and clear smile made her particularly charming at the party. When Alex saw Emily for the first time, it was as if the world stood still. He couldn't take his eyes off her, drawn to her so much he couldn't help himself. Their relationship was going exceptionally well. Emily's intelligence and kindness make Alex feel like he's found his true mate. A few months later, Alex took Emily on a romantic trip to the beach, during which he got down on one knee and asked her to marry him. As the sea breeze gently brushed Emily's face, her smile grew more beautiful as the sun set, and she said yes to his proposal without hesitation. The wedding was held a year later in the summer, and guests gathered to witness the happy couple step into marriage. After their wedding, Alex and Emily bought a beautiful three-bedroom house on the outskirts of town, and life began to become more settled and hopeful. After getting married, Alex's career continued to flourish. The investment firm he founded achieved remarkable success in a short period of time, attracting a growing number of clients. The company expanded rapidly and revenues grew accordingly. They lived a life of abundance, bought a luxury sedan, and planned to completely pay off the mortgage on their house in the next few years. Meanwhile, Emily is enjoying their newlywed life. She quit her job to focus on her family and take care of decorating and furnishing their new house. Every corner is filled with her unique aesthetic and love of home. At dinner time, Alex often cooks with Emily and listens to her talk about her newfound art, while Alex shares interesting stories about the company. Life is extraordinarily beautiful in these simple little things. However, the real surprise came a year after they were married. Emily's pregnant. When she excitedly broke the news to Alex, he was so thrilled he could barely speak. Although they had planned to have children, the arrival of the twins was an unexpected blessing. Alex was incredulous for a moment, but soon he couldn't wait to start planning for the future. He started setting up the kids' rooms in advance, shopping for baby items, and even talking to Emily about their future education. As Emily's belly grows, Alex's career continues to climb. His firm grew to become a leader in the industry, and more clients trusted his expertise and were willing to leave their investments in his hands. Alex is not only confident at work, but as a man about to become a father, he feels a sense of responsibility deep down that he has never felt before. 9 months later, Emily gave birth to healthy twin girls. Alex's eyes filled with tears of excitement as he watched his two little angels lying in their swaddling clothes. He never thought he'd slip into the role of father so quickly. He loved both children and was determined to provide them with the best of everything. Emily devotes herself to caring for her family and her children, and although she is sometimes tired, she feels a sense of fulfillment in her heart. The atmosphere of the family is full of warmth. Every weekend, Alex takes his wife and kids for a walk in the park for some rare bonding time. His work is still busy, but every day after work, coming home to his wife and daughters has become the moment he looks forward to the most. Life seems to have reached perfection. Alex has a stable career and a happy family. They plan for the future and have enough savings to provide better education and living conditions for their children. Whenever friends talk about them, they do so with a tone of envy, praising their marriage and life. However, all this happiness seemed to come too smoothly, like an elaborate trick of fate. Alex is completely unaware that the cracks hidden behind this seemingly perfect life are quietly widening. And this dreamy happily ever after is about to be met with unexpected challenges and trials. It was a normal summer weekend when Alex and Emily threw a family party for their two daughters' second birthdays. The house was packed with family and friends, and the atmosphere was lively. The kids were laughing and running around the living room. Emily was smiling and taking care of the guests, and the whole house was in a festive mood. Alex stood in the corner of the living room, his heart full of contentment and joy. His life is so perfect: two healthy and lovely daughters, a beautiful and virtuous wife, and a career that is going well. Just as he reached for a glass of wine and was about to continue his conversation with his friends, a few overheard words shattered the peace. His mother and aunt were talking softly in the kitchen, their voices small but clear in his ears. "Have you noticed how blue the children's eyes are?" The aunt's voice was low and slightly puzzled. "Yeah, it's weird. No one in the family has those blue eyes. Alex has brown eyes and Emily has brown eyes," replied the mother, her tone revealing a hint of uneasiness. These few simple words hit Alex like a bolt from the blue. It was as if his heart was clutched hard by something, and his breathing became rapid. Those blue eyes. He had never looked deeply into, but now that he thought about it, it really didn't seem like a trait inherited from either of them. Doing his best to remain calm, he looked back at his two daughters playing in the living room, those blue eyes looking particularly piercing at the moment. A thought suddenly flashed through his mind that he didn't dare think about deeply. These children might not be his. By the end of the party, Alex's doubts were growing. He couldn't shake the thought, and his mind began to fill with doubts about his wife. Emily used to frequent the gym, and her personal trainer, a blond man, always seemed to be close to her. The image of this man kept coming back to him, making him feel like he couldn't breathe. For the next few days, Alex endured endless internal torture. His reason told him that perhaps it was just unfounded suspicion, but the emotional unease gnawed at him all the time. He finally decides to take action and secretly hires a private investigator to find out if Emily has actually been unfaithful. A few weeks later, detectives brought back evidence. Alex's heart was almost in his throat when he received the call from the detective. The voice on the other end of the line was low and full of caution. "You might want to be prepared for this to not be good news." Alex's hands trembled slightly as he forced himself to calm down. "Tell me what happened." "We found out that Emily did have an affair with her personal trainer and that they had been together for some time. And to make matters worse, the DNA test showed that the baby really isn't yours." At that moment, Alex felt as if she had been thrown to the ground. He gripped the phone tightly, his knuckles white from the effort, a mix of anger, shock, despair, and pain that almost consumed him. The detective went on to describe, according to the surveillance footage we obtained, they met almost weekly. Emily usually makes excuses to go to the gym when in reality they meet at the personal trainer's apartment. The detective's tone gradually lowered as he began to describe in detail the evidence they had gathered. Alex held his cell phone as if he could no longer hear the voices around him, his mind filled with those images, those sickening betrayals. The video evidence sent by the detective shows Emily walking into the personal trainer's apartment in a sweatshirt and relaxed demeanor. As soon as the apartment door closed, Emily immediately pounced on the man, making no secret of her desire and passion. The two embraced and began kissing frantically, their hands roaming over each other's bodies as if they were burning with endless desire. The video then shows them walking to the bedroom together. The door then closes, leaving only the silent hallway in the shot. However, it was enough to make Alex cringe. His wife, the woman he once thought he'd spend his life with, was currently with another man who was the personal trainer he'd once trusted. What's even more unacceptable to Alex is that their conversation in the video clearly confirms the brutal truth. Emily and her personal trainer have known for a long time that the baby isn't Alex's, but the man's own flesh and blood. In the video, Emily even takes her two daughters to meet the man, and the two of them smile so softly at their children, while Alex never realizes that these betrayals are going on silently in his life. All of this left Alex feeling angry, humiliated, and helpless. His hands clenched around the video evidence, his body trembling uncontrollably. He loved his daughters, and even though they were not his biological children, he never wanted to give them up. But Emily's betrayal was intolerable. Not only had he been lied to, but he'd become a laughingstock, and it was amazing that it had lasted this long. After learning of this evidence, Alex's inner rage and desire for revenge took over. He decides not to endure this humiliation any longer and begins secretly plotting his revenge. He stops communicating too much with Emily and even pretends that it's business as usual. But in reality, he's already started secretly transferring his assets in preparation for the upcoming showdown. A wave of hate welled up in Alex's heart every time Emily walked by him, But he hid it well and was even more calm and collected than ever. He knew that all he had to do was wait for the right moment to make Emily pay for her betrayal. From the moment he learns of Emily's betrayal, Alex's heart is never at peace. He is no longer the gentle husband who loves his wife and children dearly, but a man filled with a desire for revenge. He decides that not only will Emily pay for her betrayal, but he'll make her lose everything. Each plan gradually took shape in his mind and was put into action step by step. Alex decided to start with the finances. Since her marriage, Emily has quit her job to devote herself to her family, relying on Alex for financial support. And Alex knew that the financial blow would be the hardest for her to bear. So Alex began to quietly move property behind the scenes. Using his expertise in the financial industry, he secretly sold an investment company under his name to an offshore company and transferred the funds to multiple offshore accounts through complex financial operations. The accounts are spread across different countries, making it almost impossible to trace the source. On the surface, Alex's company appears to be in trouble, but in reality, he has moved all of his important assets out of Emily's reach. Meanwhile, Alex continues to act as if nothing is wrong. He comes home every night and has dinner with Emily, as he always does, to talk about the kids growing up and their plans for the future. However, the hatred inside made his every smile seem incredibly hypocritical. Alex decides to destroy Emily's relationship with her personal trainer. He obtained Emily's personal trainer's social accounts and contact information through a private investigator without resorting to hacking. Alex knows that Emily has deep feelings for this man right now, and breaking the trust between them would be devastating to Emily. Alex disguises himself as a young, beautiful woman and gets in touch with Emily's personal trainer through a social media platform. After a few days, the personal trainer took the bait and gradually began a series of intimate conversations with the virtual woman. Alex crafted these conversations to gradually expose the man to signs that he wasn't faithful to Emily. Eventually, one night after a dinner, Alex intentionally shows these chats to Emily. She turned pale when she saw the personal trainer having an intimate conversation with another woman. Anger, unease, and doubt were woven into her mind, and she couldn't believe that the man she loved so much had betrayed her. That night, Emily's relationship with her personal trainer was in crisis like never before. Alex watched in silence, his heart filled with the thrill of revenge. Whenever Emily loses her temper and confides in him, he always gently reassures her as if he had nothing to do with the crisis. Alex decides to make Emily's betrayal public in order to destroy her social image and shatter her life. He comes up with an even more brutal plan for revenge. Pack up all the evidence, including photos of Emily with her personal trainer, surveillance video of them in the apartment, and DNA test results, and send it all to Emily's friends and family. Alex spent a whole week carefully preparing this evidence. He carefully organized the photos and videos provided by the private investigator, as well as his own results obtained through DNA testing, and wrapped them in a delicate box. He imagined the shock and anger of Emily's family and friends when they received these gifts. Each box is like a time bomb waiting to explode in Emily's life. After all the preparations were completed, Alex contacted a courier company and sent the gifts to Emily's parents, sisters, closest friends, and even their mutual friend. This was all done without Emily's knowledge. Every time she talked to her friends, Alex's inner sneer became more and more pronounced. He could see Emily's life falling apart the moment the evidence reached her family and friends. She would no longer be the respectable wife and mother, but a woman who had betrayed her family, a disgrace in the eyes of her friends and family. Alex knows that Emily's character cares deeply about what others think, and when the evidence becomes public, there will be no escape for her. After the delivery, Alex was as calm as she'd ever been. He knew that the most painful moment was yet to come, but everything was on the line. Emily is still reeling from the pain of her broken relationship with her personal trainer, oblivious to the huge storm that's coming. It was a normal morning when Emily got a call from her mother out of the blue. The voice on the other end of the line was full of questioning and anger. "Emily, what's going on with these photos and reports? What the hell did you do?" Emily was completely stunned and had no idea what her mother was talking about. Immediately afterward, Her cell phone kept ringing as relatives and friends called to question her, all of them sounding incredulous and angry. She rushed to open her social accounts and realized that she had also received those anonymous photos and videos in her inbox. When she saw the evidence, her whole body instantly collapsed. Those secrets she had kept hidden were now completely exposed to those closest to her, without reservation. Emily fell to the ground, her hands trembling as tears slipped silently down her face. She couldn't fathom how it had happened, why all that evidence had suddenly appeared in front of everyone. And in the depths of her despair and pain, Alex stood not far away, coldly watching it all unfold. He knew that Emily's world had completely fallen apart, and that, in a nutshell, was the most crucial step in his plan: to ruin her life, to destroy everything about her. After all the evidence comes to light, Emily's life is instantly thrown into endless chaos. The image she had so carefully maintained was no longer there. Her friends and family knew of her betrayal, and shame and despair swept over her life like a tidal wave. Alex watched it all, knowing that the moment of showdown had finally arrived. The house was a little eerily quiet that night. Alex sat on the couch in the living room, a glass of wine in his hand, his icy eyes always fixed on the doorway. He knew that Emily would be back soon, and today, he was going to make her face everything. The door opened softly and Emily came in, exhausted. Her face was pale, and her eyes were full of unease and exhaustion. She saw Alex sitting on the couch and felt vaguely uneasy, but forced herself to calm down. She knew that this day would come sooner or later. "We need to talk." Alex's voice was low, cold, and tinged with uncontrollable anger. Emily stopped in the doorway, her heart racing and tears almost coming to her eyes. She knew there was no escaping everything today. She approached slowly, trying to find an explanation for herself. "Alex, I don't know how those things were sent. That's not what I wanted." Emily's voice was full of pleading and helplessness. Her eyes glistened with tears as she tried to look more pathetic. Alex gave a cry, put down the glass in his hand, and stood up. His gaze was as sharp as an ice blade as he stared into her eyes. "Do you think this is a misunderstanding, Emily? Do you really think I'm going to believe those bullshit excuses?" Emily's body shuddered and tears slid down her cheeks. She shook her head helplessly and tried to justify herself. That's not what I thought. We started out just seeing each other occasionally, and then things got out of hand and I didn't know what to do." "Out of control?" Alex's voice snapped up with uncontrollable fury. "Are you telling me that you're lying in another man's bed, letting him do whatever he wants to you, just because you're out of control?" Emily's body went limp and she could barely stand. She whimpered, "Alex, I didn't mean to hurt you. It was just an accident. We just met at the gym and he made me feel different. I didn't think it would develop into this, and I didn't think it would feel different." Alex's anger could no longer be suppressed as he walked briskly up to her, his tone filled with endless sarcasm and humiliation. "Yeah, I bet you feel different in bed with him. Do you like his muscles? Like the things he does to you? Or are you used to being treated like a toy by him?" Emily's tears had long since become uncontrollable and were streaming down her cheeks. She knew she would never be able to explain it again, and every word Alex said was like a sharp knife stabbing her right in the heart. "You disgust me," Alex continued, scorn in her voice. "How dare you screw that man behind my back and pretend these kids are mine? You think I'm going to continue to act like a fool raising someone else's child and taking care of a woman who completely betrayed me?" Emily cried in despair, her voice hoarse. "I really didn't mean it, Alex. It was just a momentary lapse on my part. Please, please forgive me." "Forgive you?" Alex gave a laugh, an icy mockery in his eyes. "You know, Emily, I never thought you could be so dirty. You've been pretending to be the perfect wife, the perfect mother, and what do you end up doing behind your back? Did you think about me when you were with him? Did you think about coming back and continuing to lie to me every time you lay in his arms?" His words grew more and more vicious, and Emily's body couldn't stop shaking. She didn't know how to deal with Alex's anger or how she could justify her behavior. She had tried to convince herself that it was just a mistake, one that could be forgiven, But now she realized that everything had gotten out of hand. You even brought him home and introduced him to our children. Alex continued through clenched teeth. You let him touch them, pretending he was just a coach when in fact he was their real father. You're a shameless woman, Emily. Emily choked back a sob, barely able to breathe. She tried to say something, but couldn't make a sound. She knows that everything Alex says is true, and that's the last thing she wants to deal with. As of today, I won't pay another dime for you. Alex said coldly, you won't get anything. The property has been transferred to me, and you won't have any more chance of surviving on me. Emily fell to her knees and broke down, crying, her voice hoarse. Please, Alex. I really know it's wrong. I'll change. Please don't do this. But Alex has no mercy. He looked down at Emily with nothing but endless disgust and contempt in his heart. The woman he once loved was now nothing more than a filthy betrayer in his eyes, someone who had completely lost her dignity. After the showdown, Alex didn't hesitate to file for divorce. He's ready to go head-to-head with Emily in court. In front of Judge Marie Matthews, Alex was calm and presented all the evidence, photos, videos, DNA reports, and showed no mercy. In court, Emily tries to justify herself, crying about how lost and regretful she is, claiming that she still loves Alex and wants to save her marriage. However, Alex has long since stopped believing her every word. She betrayed me, and she betrayed this family, Alex said firmly in court, without a waver in his eyes. The evidence speaks for itself. I am no longer responsible for her, nor will I bear any burdens for her. Judge Marie Matthews listened coldly to the statements and finally announced the decision on the division of property. Alex has skillfully transferred his assets, leaving Emily with virtually nothing of substance. And the child custody issue was quickly resolved as a result of the DNA report. Emily left the courtroom pale and with tears long since dried up. She knew that it was over. She used to think she could be forgiven, or at least keep a part of her life, but now she's lost everything. And even the man she once depended on has completely abandoned her. Emily's life quickly fell into an abyss after her divorce case. Her friends, family, and acquaintances were presented with that evidence photographs taken by private investigators, intimate videos of her with her personal trainer, and DNA test results that revealed the child's true identity. Her social circle instantly fell apart. Those who had once spoken warmly to her and praised her for her family's happiness now looked at her with disdain. She tries to explain it to her friends, tries to tell them it was just a mistake, a mess she couldn't control. But no matter what she said, none of the friends and family who saw the evidence with their own eyes were willing to believe her anymore. She became the laughing stock of her social circle, and every time she stepped out of the house it seemed as if she had to endure endless humiliation. The most overwhelming thing for Emily is her family, especially her parents. When they learned of this, they were completely unable to accept that their once proud daughter had betrayed her marriage and cheated on everyone. Her mother's phone call was filled with anger and pain. Emily, how could you do this to Alex, to both children? We don't even have the courage to face our relatives and friends now. You've made us a disgrace to the whole family. Emily tries to explain, tries to cry about her helplessness, but her mother can't listen anymore and just hangs up mercilessly. At that moment, Emily felt completely isolated. She has nowhere else to go, has lost friends, family, and even control of her life. Alex's plan for revenge completely destroys her life, and she loses her financial resources and any ability to continue to maintain their once luxurious house. After the house is foreclosed on, Emily is forced to move back into a tiny apartment with two of her only remaining family members, two children who are not Alex's own. But even these two children could not soothe her pain. Every time she looked into her daughter's blue eyes, endless guilt and pain welled up inside her. She knew that it was her betrayal that had started it all, and there was nothing she could do to change anything. One day, a few months later, Emily received a letter from Alex. She opened the envelope and found inside a sarcastic card that read, "How are you doing, Emily? I wonder if you're still enjoying those times you betrayed me?" Alex's handwriting was clearly visible on that card, filled with endless sarcasm and humiliation between the lines. Emily held the card as the tears welled up again. She knew that Alex's anger hadn't abated with the end of the divorce. It had become more violent. Not only did he destroy her life, but he would continue to mentally torture her with never-ending pain. What humiliated her the most, however, was her inability to resist. She knew that she had betrayed Alex, the man who had once loved her with all his heart. She didn't have any reason to defend herself, or even the strength to resist the humiliation. Every letter, every taunt, was like a sharp thorn in her already deeply pierced heart. One weekend morning, Alex suddenly decides to visit Emily, not out of concern, but to humiliate her face to face one last time. He knows that Emily has become nothing in his revenge, and he wants to see with his own eyes what a pitiful state the woman who once betrayed him has become. When Alex rings Emily's apartment doorbell, she opens the door in surprise and immediately turns pale when she sees him standing in the doorway. "Alex, what are you doing here?" Her voice was weak, full of panic and unease. Alex walks in with scorn in his eyes. He watched the woman who had once been the center of his family's splendor, now so downtrodden that she lived in such a modest apartment, with an inner thrill of pleasure. "I just came by to see how you're doing now, Emily," he said coldly, his eyes scanning her humble home. "After all, you used to be doing so well, enjoying everything I provided for you. What about now? Is your personal trainer still with you? Or have you found a new different man?" Emily's face instantly turned paler and tears welled up in her eyes. Shaking her head feebly, she tried to explain, "Alex, it's not like that. I know I made a mistake, but I'm really paying for it already." "The price?" Alex snorted and stepped closer to her, a vicious mockery in his tone. "You think this is your price now, Emily? This is just the beginning. You betrayed me, you betrayed our marriage, and now you get what you deserve." He took a step closer and stared at her face. "You know what? Every time I think of you with that man, it makes me sick. Do you like his body? Like the things he does? Or have you gotten used to going back and forth between two men and enjoying the degradation?" Emily is powerless to refute this and can only burst into tears. She felt utterly crushed, a mix of humiliation and guilt that left her barely able to breathe. "Stop crying," Alex said icily. "Crying won't change anything. You've lost everything, Emily, and I want you to remember that you're going to live with this humiliation and loneliness for the rest of your life." With those words, he turned away unceremoniously, leaving a devastated Emily standing alone. Tears continued to well up in her eyes and her body couldn't stop shaking. She knew. Alex was right. It was all over for her. As time went on, Emily's life became more difficult. She tries to start over and get a job to make ends meet, but every interview fails due to her notoriety. Her former coworkers have long known of her betrayal, and no one wants anything to do with her anymore. Her finances were also getting worse, and the debt she owed made her feel like she couldn't breathe. The luxuries she once depended on were long in the distant past, replaced by day-to-day hardship and isolation. The children remained innocently dependent on her, but she knew that she could no longer afford to give them a stable life. Their real father, the personal trainer, has also fled her life due to scandal and unemployment, leaving her to face this self-inflicted disaster alone. Whenever she looks at herself in the mirror, Emily feels that she is no longer the confident, elegant woman she once was. Her life had long since collapsed, and her soul was withering away in endless humiliation. Alex's vengeance was successful. Not only did he destroy her life, but he left her with a shame she could never escape. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.